In this video, we're going to show you how to beat every single coverage in football, and make sure you stay to the end because the last coverage you may not have heard of. The first coverage that we're going to talk about is cover zero. And remember, it has 0 defenders deep, which means that the defense is probably going to bring 6 players. So from a route standpoint, we can't hold on to the football too long because the quarterback's pocket is going to compress fast. So we got to think quick routes, getting the ball out now. From a quarterback standpoint, the way you beat cover zero is you got to find your best matchup and get the ball out quick. So, for instance, you could run a slant with an out pattern here. You could run a go and a middle bender here. So again, we're thinking about how can we catch the football and throw it quick, preferably under 1.5 seconds is the timing that we're trying to get the football out when we see cover zero. But again, you're just trying to find your best matchup and get the football out. A lot of other teams will use motion to try to gain advantage from a speed perspective. So if this Y is our best player, let's put him in motion pre-snap, force the rover to either go over the linebackers or to go under the linebackers. And then we can use these other players as pick players to get up the field, whether it be an out, and up. So motions, shifts, being able to move players around and getting the football out quickly is how you're going to beat cover zero. Next, we're going to look at cover one. And my general rule with cover one is cover one, make them run. So we want to make these defenders run across the field with us. Now, in all these pass concepts that we do, we are going to keep the running back in. So if you're wondering in the cover zero what I was going to do with the running back, I'm keeping him in to help pass protect. But again, you can flare him out for a hot read as well. But for this instance, we're just going to keep the running back in so we have a 6-man protection. But if we're getting cover one, that typically means that the Sam or the Mike linebacker will have the running back. A lot of teams will run cover one if they're just going to play a straight 4 down, or if they want to spy the quarterback, or if they want to add pressure with the Mike and bring 5. Those are all the options that you're going to get from cover one. So again, what are we thinking? If we can have 6 players block their 5, we should have a +1 advantage. So we'll have a little bit more time to throw the football. A lot of popular concepts that we'll see are the mesh concept, where you'll have the H and the Y meet at a high 5 point and go across the field. Again, you can get and win these one-on-ones on the outside, but the middle of the field is usually going to be taken care of. So any post routes or anything to the middle of the field, we want to avoid with cover one because teams will typically have their best player in that free safety be in the middle of the field. The other thing you can do is you can try to take advantage of this free safety by running a dig in the middle of the field and then running this X player on a post behind him. Again, trying to get him to bite up and throw it over his head. But a lot of times what I'm thinking when I see cover one is make them run and win the best matchup possible. So you think about cover zero, cover one, they both translate in the sense of we're trying to find our best matchup and we're trying to get them open. But from a coaching standpoint, to try to get these guys open, it's how can we run pick plays and do certain things to make sure that these players can't cover us. So one that's used commonly in the NFL is you'll see this player will run a spot route right over the top of this jack, and then this player will drive down on him, and then you'll get the wheel here from H. Again, you're seeing that this jack will have to run underneath the Z, be in a trail position, and then that's how they usually lose that pick route to the outside. Another one that's common, again, is traditional slant flat, where if you can get these players meshing up, where he's running a slant and then he's running it out. If you can get these players close enough to get picked off of each other, that's just going to help you as well. So a lot of pick routes. And then, of course, the new one that's pretty much every college team is running, a lot of NFL teams are adopting it too, is just the smash fade. So you're going to get an outside release, fixed hitch by the Z here, and then this H is going to press and work to the numbers running away from leverage. So those are the ways I'm thinking about making these guys run horizontally, make them run vertically, just make them run and put them in awkward situations. Especially with this smash fade concept, it's very tough for this jack to get on the heels of the H and then try to make a play over the H's shoulder. If the quarterback can drop a ball over the top there, we call it dropping it in the bucket, it's very hard to defend. Next, we're going to talk about cover two. And the beauty about cover two and any other zone coverage is just from a visualization standpoint, you can see where the holes in the defense are versus the windows of the defense. What we mean by that is if you look at the large areas of where we want to throw the football, and we'll mark these up with a square, we'll color the square green. So with each of these green squares is where you're going to want to throw the football. So again, we call these the holes of the defense. So this is where we want to try to manipulate through scheme or just through player presence and get these players in these areas. And then these small areas here, we're calling those windows. We may have to pull apart the Sam and the Mike or the Mike and the Jack to be able to hit these windows. A lot of teams will try to do this by, sending a guy deep and then you run a dig right behind him. You notice the window right here is where we're trying to throw the football. So again, thinking about these areas here, what route concepts can I run to get players in there? So one popular concept in cover 2 is what's called smash. Again, you'll get a hitch and hopefully that corner will glue onto the hitch. And then we want to try to throw a corner ball right here into that soft spot. Another popular one is what we call a fade out concept. So he's just going to try to run the hash here, and then he's going to try to run and out to try to hold this corner. That way they can throw the ball behind his head. Another popular concept is to try to get this Y on a bender to try to bring the rover with them this way. And then that way they can hit that over their head this way. So again, we're trying to just displace players to try to hit these open spots here. Another one teams will use is they'll try to attack the middle of the field, right? How can I get this H inside release to get inside the free safety? Same with the Y. How can I get him inside release to get to the middle of the field? The shortest path for the quarterback's a straight line. So if I can throw a straight line right down the middle of the field, that's where the weakness is going to be. Remember, the stress of this defense is going to be on the rover and the free safety, okay? Those two deep safeties, they got to cover a lot of grass, right? So do they go this way or do they bend this way? There's a lot of decisions they have to make. And in this instance, if I can stretch them vertically and do a little bit of manipulation with the corners underneath, that's where our money's going to be. Another one of my favorite cover 2 beaters, this also works for cover 4, is when you take the H, okay, you'll have to switch them. Usually when you see a H on, the Z off, where they're switched like this guy usually is going deep. Nice little hot tip for you. So when this H presses deep and runs the corner route, it's naturally going to drag that free safety out, and the Z runs the slant and go through the middle of the field. So again, we're just trying to pry the defense open. That way we can get guys running free through the middle of the field. Next, we're going to talk about cover 3. And cover 3, again, when you line up all of the dots for the defense, you'll see the green squares of what's going to be open. The seams are what the offense wants to attack. So what do we mean by seams? We want this H to run vertically and then this Y to also run vertically. And what happens when you do this, you put the free safety in a bind. Is he going to go this way? Well, if he does, the backside's open. Vice versa. Same if he goes this way, the H will be open on the front side. So it's up to the quarterback to look this way first, to draw this free safety this way, and then to throw an absolute laser on the backside here to the H. So again, how can I manipulate that free safety to go left, to go right, so I can hit those seams? Because it's very tough for the corner and these free safeties to cover their deep third and to be able to cover the seams as well. Another way teams will manipulate cover 3 is by picking on the outside linebacker. Or for our instance, in this visual is going to be the jack. So if I can flood that concept and I can stretch them out vertically, I can get a guy open. So for instance, let's use the Z. We're going to be running a flood concept. So the Z is going to be going deep. So he's going to run off the corner. That way he's out of the picture. And now the H is going to run a 2-yard out. Well, what normally happens when the jack sees a 2-yard out, he's going to come flying up to cover this H. And then what you can do is you can put this 10-yard out right behind the jack. So the jack needs to make a choice. Do I go for the 2-yard out or do I stay deep and cover the Y behind me at a 10-yard out? Most of the time, the jacks will run up and cover this 2-yard out because it's right in front of him. It's easy coverage. He'll just run up and take it. A good jack will play deep to short, where he's going to get in the window here and then drive down. But regardless, he can't cover both. So by doing this, you're able to beat cover 3 by forcing that jack, hey, you're going to go deep, you're going to go short. You got to pick one, and you're going to be wrong each time. So a lot of teams will try to disguise this by showing a single high shell like cover 3 and then rotating to cover 2, or going to man coverage where this concept isn't great against. But this is how you would beat cover 3, attack the seams or attack those outside linebackers and try to stretch them out vertically. Next, we're going to talk about cover 4, and cover 4 can be a little bit different because a lot of teams will play like a true zone drop cover 4 on like 3rd and long. So, what looks to be open right now, if we're talking squares again, is the flats. What we want to do is attack these flats if we can. But again, if it's not enough to get a first down, we got to think differently. So if it's not enough to get a first down, it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, and the corners are backed up, 8, 9, 10 yards. What we want to think of is going back to our cover 2 mind, right? How do we split the middle of the field, and how do we get these players going the middle here? Whether it be by design or whether it be by just trying to get those players free and just win with speed through the middle of the field. So a lot of times when teams need to beat cover 4, whether it be match quarters or just zone drop cover 4, we're trying to manipulate the rover and the free safety somehow. Like we talked about here, if we're going to run this bender with the H, it will drag this rover up. And then can we win inside and one on a backside post. So cover 4, a lot of times those double posts will give teams problems. Or if they run what's called the shallow concept with here on the front side, so that rover drives it and then they can throw the Z over their head, which is coupled on the backside with a shallow underneath. That way, again, we're layering the defense 1 to 2 to 3. We're trying to stretch them out vertically. This is one way to beat cover 4. And then what a lot of coaches will do is they'll just go back to what they did with cover 3, right? How can I layer this jack again by running this flood concept that we just talked about? So if we erase these guys here, bring him over, and same concept where the Z is going to go deep, the H is going to go short, Y is going to go deep. So again, we're trying to really stretch out that jack. Another concept, what's called the stick concept. So again, he'll go short, hoping to drag this jack out, and then this Y is just going to sit. So if you pair this with a run play, and this is why RPOs are so popular in 2 high structures, because if I get run action going this way, right, what's the Mike linebacker going to do? He's going to go this way. Well, you see the jack's being pulled out by the H. No one is covering the Y at 5 yards. Quarterback will pull it and then throw the football to the Y. Easy 5 yards. So if you have a team that likes to stay in this 2 high structure, whether it be match quarters or whether it be just straight cover 4, you can use RPOs to your advantage. A good coach will get into cover 3 to kind of, or cover 1 or any man coverage to eliminate that and then fix their run fits a little bit. But for now, if it's just straight cover 4 and short to medium distance, this stick concept is always great to try to stretch the defense horizontally rather than vertically. Now, the next coverage is what's called palms coverage, and it's a variation of cover 2. And a lot of high school teams will run this, a lot of college teams will run this, where they're just going to be looking at number 2. So instead of having this bubble here where they're going to be just covering the flat, they're actually going to be reading the number 2 receiver. And we'll pay attention just to the right side of the field here. So if this number 2 receiver, the H here, okay, number 2, here's number 1, here's number 2, he goes to the flat, the corner's going to jump him now. So he's protecting his flat. But if no one runs to the flat, he's just going to keep sinking. So you see it's a crossover between cover 4 and cover 2. A lot of teams will call it palms coverage, trap coverage. We did a whole video on palms coverage, which we'll link above if you're interested in learning a little bit more about palms coverage. But the way to beat this is how can you influence this corner to make a mistake? So again, where's the soft spot in the cover 2? It's right behind the corner. So we're still thinking that with palms coverage, where how can we manipulate this corner to come flying up, and then that way we can hit the home run ball right behind his head. So again, if he's going to trap that thing now, let him trap it and we'll throw it over his head. Another way to beat it is make him wrong by sinking. So let's say he presses him vertical and he presses vertical. Well, the corner's reading number 2. He's thinking, okay, is he going to break? Is he going to break? Is he going to break? Eventually, he needs to latch on to the Z receiver. So if you can get this H at about 10 to 12 yards to then break out, this corner has no chance but to carry the Z receiver deep. Again, it's a way to put that corner in a bind. Rather than that, though, the traditional cover 2 beaters will work against palms coverage. But I wanted to include this in because a lot of teams will play it where they'll try to trap the flat. But if you can just manipulate him with a deep out or immediate out and a quick hole shot to the Z receiver, that's how you're going to beat palm coverage. Make him wait, make him delay, and then take advantage of his depth. Now, if you enjoyed learning about how to beat coverages, we actually created an entire guide about how to beat every single coverage, what is the coverage, and the best concepts to use against it. We'll link that in the description below and the pinned comment below as well. Thank you for watching. We recommend you check out this video here next after you check out the guide, and we'll see you next time.